Hey there, world. This Week in Science is almost here for you. This is our weekly broadcast of our podcast. And look who we've got. We have a Justin. He has that deer in the headlights look of all parents who are newly parented, who are not getting enough sleep. A little dementia might be setting in. It's, parenthood dementia. Yes. But your brain doesn't quite work the way it normally does, isn't firing on all cylinders because you are lacking sleep. How much sleep have you gotten in the last few days?
Oh, I got a full 8 hours this week.
Over this this week. There we go. We're chatting right now because we are experiencing some technical difficulties on Blair's end. We were trying to troubleshoot, but wanted to get live and get going to say hello to everybody so you're not just waiting forever. Blair had some weird digital effect where her audio was not just going clicking, clacking, but was doubling up on itself. So
Yeah.
it's a weird digital problem. Could be in the microphone, could be in the software. We've been working all sorts of things. She's restarting, I think, and she may or may not rejoin us.
Okay.
These things happen.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me checking my phone to see if she has texted me to say everything is broken. Oh, yes. Taking forever to restart. That's
It's
the
probably just an update. Like sometimes those updates ruin
sometimes
everything else
everything. She's a Mac user,
do.
however. I don't know.
They don't update those because I've had Apple products that definitely do that to me. Like whenever my Bluetooth stops working on my phone, I would know that it was time to update it because it would just stop.
Something's
It would
broken.
It would just stop working.
Oh my goodness. That happens with my internet occasionally, and that's when I have to call the Comcasters and say, hi, what's happening? I restarted everything, unplugged, plugged it back in, gave it that 15, 30 seconds waiting period, still not working. And then they go, oh, yeah, well, no, I didn't do anything. And then suddenly it works. Dum, dum, dum. We don't have to update things except for the science. So, Justin, I think we can start the show because
let's do it.
you have a short disclaimer. And when Blair comes, hopefully Blair will come in the process, maybe. She says, what did you do? Oh, she has what is this? Apple screen. Can you see the little bar on the Apple? She said it's happening for the third time now. So her computer is definitely needing some TLC. All right, everybody. We all need some TLS, tender loving science.
Grouchy Gamer says, tell Blair to unplug and replug mic USB connectors. It can help.
We've done that.
Grouchy Gamer. In fact, Kiki had Blair blowing out all of the ports.
I did. I was like, blow on all your ports. Get the dust out of there.
Which is just a thing that it might work in 1 in a million cases, but it's always Kiki's go-to to make other people do. I've always thought it was just like some weird thing that she's like, I want to see somebody blowing out the port on that computer.
That's right.
I don't know why.
How many times do you get to say, blow the ports? Anyway, you ready to see if we can do a little bit of the show starting and then the show going? And so good to see you here. And I hope that we can get Blair in here. Yeah. I hope that parenthood hasn't changed you too much for us.
Oh, yeah, it might have. It may have done irreparable damage to my brain function ability thing. We'll see. This is the first time I'll be talking in a voice that is meant for adult humans. Wow.
Ooh, I'm actually talking to adult humans right now. Ooh, isn't that it's a cute little science. Oh, it's a good little science. What did you? Oh, we're gonna talk about little molecules and little microbes. Oh, no microbes for you. We're gonna wash your little fingers and toes. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks of just holding up the baby and being, learn to speak. Learn to speak. Tell me why you are crying.
Give me the words.
I've done all of the things.
Are you trying to teach the baby sign language?
No, it's too soon. The baby's just there's too. The thing about newborn babies is that they're just awful.
It's really, really true. They should just stay inside longer.
Yeah, they're just really like I don't know.
Don't
Like
let
I
them
get
out.
like this.
No.
Well, there's some evolutionary benefit to things. It's like, babies sleep a lot, and that's probably because the mother wasn't running around doing stuff right away after birth, so the baby should just sleep a lot, and that's fine. And they come out the way they do because if they waited too long, they'd be too big, and there's all sorts of things. I'm trying to figure out the evolutionary advantage to filling a diaper while you sleep. Like that's the one that I'm like, out of all the things.
Well, it's easier than getting up and going for a walk.
Pooping themselves as they sleep is one of those things that I just don't understand. I don't know that there's another creature in the animal kingdom that will just sleep and poop at the same time. But it's a constant thing. And then
zero control, Justin.
Be upset by it. Be upset by the fact that you've pooped yourself into sleep. Because I get that if you have pooped yourself in your sleep as some sort of evolutionary advantage somewhere along the line, who knows when or why. But then we're just okay with it. Make perfect sense. But no, it is completely upsetting. To the tiny human who has pooped himself. And yet they did it. It was them.
Enjoy those tacos,
no.
Fada.
Oh my goodness.
It is not Taco Tuesday. It's Wednesday. It's Science Wednesday now. Okay.
Right, go ahead and cue the thing.
I can't wait to meet the baby one day. Okay.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 We're gonna science now. I don't know where Blair is, but we'll have fun anyhow. Let's do the beginning of this show, shall we? Yeah. Starting in 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 862, recorded on Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. Is this the science trap? Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we are going to fill your heads with megajoules, lasers, and golf. But first,
disclaimer. Sleep. It's that thing you get plenty of until you don't. And then the world stops operating as it should. You might find the coffee maker making only hot water. Or find yourself waiting for a stop sign to turn green. Or holding a crying baby at 3 a.m. wondering, who even is this tiny human? They weren't here a week ago. In any case, sleep. Something your brain needs. That and This Week in Science coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki.
And a good science to you too, Justin. And Blair, how's your audio?
Blair, good science.
Hey, Blair. How do I sound?
Oh, you sound terrific so far.
Oh, great.
3 restarts. That's the charm.
6, actually. It decided to reboot 6 times in a row. So
Well, we're glad you're here, and we hope that you stay that way.
I was doing this in the meantime. I was like, what can I cobble together?
Fantastic.
What
I
is
like
that?
cobble.
A dusting brush? Cord to a
windscreen.
Dryer. Oh, it is a microphone. Okay.
She's doing man on the street interviews.
Yeah,
today.
that's actually what that's legitimately for, but don't worry about
it. Lady on the street, let me ask you about science.
Lady on the street.
Okay.
We should tell Blair. We already started the show.
I noticed. I'm sorry. I crashed it.
All right. I'm glad Blair has crashed the show. And welcome to everyone out there to another episode of This Week in Science. We are so glad to be here. All 3 hosts, hale and healthy and sounding 5 by 5. Everyone, we are here to talk about science, and we hope that you are ready to hear all about it. I have stories tonight about, what did I bring stories about? Did I write something down? Oh, yeah, I did. Fusion, pathogens, and friendly lady brains. Yep. Justin, what do you got?
Let's see. I don't know. God, I don't know. Oh, my thing won't load now. Oh gosh. Well, what I got? I got a Martian laser story. Martian laser spaceship discovery, I should say. There is why it is old people don't use apps. And
Appetite?
oh, and the first humans in Europe.
First humans in Europe. All right, I'm excited about that.
First
And
current modern type humans.
Not on vacation necessarily. Yes. European human permanent vacation. Blair, what is in the animal corner?
Oh, I have the latest used for spider silk, and then I have cheaters and doctors.
Cheaters and doctors. Okay. All right. I'm excited about all of these stories and more because there is so much more to come in the entire episode ahead. If you have not yet subscribed to This Week in Science, you know you can do it if that's what you want to do. Head over to your favorite podcast platform and you can find us by searching for This Week in Science. We are also on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where we stream live weekly on Wednesdays. We are TWIS Science on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram. Oh, but you can find all the information about us at twis.org. Now it's time for the show. Shall we dive right in? Science!
Let's do it.
I'm going to start off with a little bit of, it's not good news. Might be. I don't know what's going to come of this. This week, the president's scientific cabinet member, the first scientific cabinet member position ever, Eric Lander, resigned after allegations of staff bullying and mistreatment came to light. And it kind of fits with Lander's past performance and ego and things that he's done. But in the president's White House, there is a zero tolerance policy for bullying. And so Lander, when everything was reported, he resigned. And so now the question is, what does this mean for Biden's science agenda? And we don't know.
This one hurts. This one hurts. Lander is brilliant. That's why he got the job in the first place. He's an amazing, at least. He's an amazing teacher, researcher. The thing is it worth it? I would say yes. I'd say get rid of all those people he abused. They had it coming.
What?
It's
No.
Sometimes you got a brilliant mind. If they're referenced, you have this happen in all sorts of walks of life. Coaches go through this. Oh, this one coach is terrible to work with. Hey, he wins games. Yeah, that's why he's still a coach. Other than that, he's a terrible human being.
Right. So this is the big question, and there's a big moment right now, especially in science, with regards to just how people treat each other with not, there's a lot of harassment in workplaces around the world. In science, we know that there are hierarchies and power trips and harassment and bullying and all sorts of things that go on. And the question is, how much will we continue to take? How much ego is going to be allowed into the scientific lab, into, Lander, responsible for the Broad Institute and basically the world's foremost genetics laboratory. He built that, and
Yeah.
he's and his ego is even to it, and he maybe it wouldn't have been where it is if he hadn't been such a jerk. But, he pushed and prodded and made it happen, but when there's a zero tolerance policy, doesn't matter. If the only way you can get your work done is by forcing people to do it, by making people feel bad about themselves, maybe you should try something else, because there are other ways to lead. And you can lead by example, you can lead by kindness, and you can lead by allowing people to do what they're good at.
I think this is exactly the point, Kiki, is that this is something I often am shouting about, is that just because you're good at something doesn't mean you'd be a good manager of that thing, right?
Yeah.
And so you can be smart, you can be a consultant on science, you can be part of a panel on science, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily the material to run a department or a team or a cabinet or any of these things. And I think that's the piece here, is that so much of our society is built on elevation based on kind of achievement, right? But often that elevation happens without the appropriate training and changes in expectations when you manage people. And so this is maybe kind of a comeuppance from that. Maybe this is something that needs to be taught in higher education alongside the discipline that people are learning, is how to actually handle people.
Well, I think this is a huge problem in the sciences, because you go from working in a laboratory, being a graduate student, being a postdoc, doing your own work, working for other people, and then suddenly one day you go and get a job as a professor at a university, and you're given your own lab. You pretty much will have had zero training unless you paid attention and took on the roles of a lab manager during your post-grad period. You will have had zero training in how to work with people, in how to do any of the things that people in business normally do. And now one of the issues here, though, I mean, is Lander comes from, also, he's a mathematician and a businessman. And so he actually does come from the business world where, people are rude and mean and ladder climbing, and they get things done a lot. But is our priority as humans win at all costs? Doesn't matter who you step on the way up. Doesn't matter who you hurt to get where you want to go. I don't know. It's a very interesting moment for our country, for considering where we've been politically, and also for, I think, science. But I think the bigger question here is, what does this not just say for science in general, but what is going to happen now that Biden's science cabinet position is empty?
Mm-hmm.
How is it going to change the cancer moonshot? Well, Lander wasn't incredibly involved in that, so maybe it won't change that at all. There was going to be the ARPA-H, which is like a new biotech initiative. And is that going to fail now? Don't know. Like there are a few things that are very much in question at the moment. We'll see.
Yeah, well, and not to I mean, on the pro side, let's also remember that anyone that he was managing who didn't quit because of him, that he was also modeling behavior, right? Yeah. And so that's another reason to kind of remove this behavior, is because it becomes a vicious cycle. This is how you lead. This is what I learned. This is how I was treated. And so I think it's also really important to make sure that the people who are being, because are in politics, right? It's a career now. So it's the people who are being groomed to kind of move up in these cabinet positions, that they're being modeled the right behavior as well.
Exactly.
So it's sort of an interesting. If I took the just to play devil's advocate,
Never.
a bunch of people who went from students to getting a PhD, then to going into the workforce, or going into a academic workforce, place like that, versus somebody who did, like you say, come from the business world. Hey, here's results. Hey, not good enough. What I'm getting, I need actually some people who are gonna go out there. I don't know what the complaints are, so I should be very careful about this, right? Because I don't know what actually. I have not read up on this. I just like Lander. That's all. The only motivation
He's
I have.
very likable in sound bites, and he's very clever. And people who have spent time with him, he for media and for very just moments, he's great. But apparently, he has methods to get work done.
Yeah.
That just didn't fit.
That may have come from that lab that basically invented genomics. Okay.
It didn't come from that lab. It came from somewhere before.
Okay. But my point though is that if that has worked for him, it can work for other people. He just needs to find the right mix of hard-nosed people who can deal with that environment.
So that then they make other people miserable when they're working for them later. Yes. An excellent plan.
Yeah, just like I do here at This Week in Science. I drive. Yeah, you're going to do your work and you're going to listen to me, or else
maybe
I'm going to make you feel bad about yourself.
If you did, we'd have a tight 90.
Oh, ouch. That hurts right in here, Justin. Okay, let's talk about fusion for a second. Let's go move on.
This is an amazing story.
Yeah, following on the heels of this last month's, well, actually, it's like back from August, September, of the National Ignition Facility, the United States Laser Fusion Project, announcing that it had reached a big threshold for power production after making some tweaks. The European Jet Fusion, it's a tokamak facility, experiment has doubled its output, just reported that they have doubled it to 12 megawatts, 59 megajoules for 5 seconds. This is a world record for fusion energy production. And basically, it says to the world that they're on the right track for the ITER project, which is the larger European tokamak fusion project, which is expected to be a power production facility for Europe. So fusion, tokamak fusion, using magnets to create a hot plasma. And the exciting thing about this, I mean, they need to keep their magnets cool is what they need to do. They could only run it for 5 seconds because that's how long it took for the magnets to overheat. And once the magnets overheated, it stopped working.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no.
5 seconds. That seems like a really long time, though.
On the scale of this kind of power production, it's a really long time. Yeah.
Because some of these reports of like there was that laser one. It's like, I got this. And it was like a nanosecond. It was like, well, that doesn't count. You couldn't even. All right, ready? Tell me when to start. Okay, it's over. Wait, what? At least you got to do a 5 count on this one. That sounds proper.
One of the things that people are hoping fusion will be ready for is climate change prime time. Can we use fusion to help us out of this climate change predicament that we are in? And the answer is no. No, we can't.
You have to cool everything constantly.
Well, right? It's not just that, but I mean the energy that the stuff they're using to make this happen is deuterium. The deuterium comes from seawater. It's it's not prolific in seawater, but it's seawater, and there's a lot of seawater. And hey, we want to do salination or desalination for pure water purification for drinking water. So we've got all this water. We should get out the deuterium, and there's all this supply. It's great. And the cooling, that'll be fine. Once you get the fusion running, it'll manage itself. The energy will be enough that it'll be able to take care of all those things. However, it's still going to be like 20 or 30 years at least. I mean, we're probably not going to see ITER really working or NIF even really working for a couple more decades. And then it comes down to building fusion power plants, which again takes time. And so if we need to be really fixing stuff within like the next 10 years, it's out. It's out. We need to fix stuff now. And so fusion can be a future game, but we need to change our game now. So we keep putting all our ducks in these future. I have too many now. I'm mixing my metaphors, and it's getting messy.
Putting too many ducks in the future pond.
Yeah, we're putting ducks in. I don't know.
In the egg basket, but they're eggs, but they're also ducks. It's definitely anything to avoid fixing efficiency and just general use reduction.
Exactly.
Can we keep everything like we're doing it, but what about nuclear? No, what about fusion? No, what about
No.
it's okay,
No.
but
No,
you
we can't
overhaul the whole system is the problem.
It's going to take time to overhaul the nuclear plants. It's going to take time to build the fusion plants once we get it really working. It's still not really working, but it's getting there, but it's still going to take time. We don't have that time. So that is the big take home is this is great, but those are future ducks.
Future ducks.
No, it's future ducks.
Is that a t-shirt?
I would like a future duck on a t-shirt. Yes.
I saw that movie as a teenager.
Back to the Future Duck, part 4. Tell me about the future of Martian lasers in space, Justin.
Yes. So, laser-powered Martian spacecraft has been discovered. Mars, yeah. What is it good for? Well, one thing, future humans. We might be putting our future humans in a Martian pond. Question isn't
with the ducks.
Isn't if we're going to settle Mars, but when we settle Mars, we will be able to get packages from Earth in a respectable amount of time. SpaceX envisions a human trip to Mars would take 6 months with its chemical-powered rockets. But 6 months is a really long time. It's half a year, in fact. Also, half a year of a sustained space faring can really rack up radiation exposure in the astronauts or even the payload that you're taking to Mars. So 2018, NASA challenged engineers to design a mission to Mars that would deliver a payload of at least 1,000 kilograms in no more than 45 days. Engineers decided that the problem was too hard and offered no solutions. No, of course, that's not what happened. Engineers came up with solutions. That's what engineers do. The harder the problem, the more creative they get to solve them. And engineers at McGill University, Montreal, designed a propulsion system that would run the craft off of space lasers. And then it would have to aerobrake when it got to the Martian atmosphere. So McGill's concept is called laser thermal propulsion. It relies on an array of infrared lasers based on Earth, 10 meters in diameter. So we're talking, I think one of the examples was it's about the size of a volleyball court. Laser array, combining invisible infrared beams, each with a wavelength of about 1 micron, creating a total of 100 megawatts of laser being fired, which is about the equivalent of 80,000 U.S. households, or less than 5 seconds of superpower generation. So maybe we can just use it for this. The spaceship orbiting would already have to be up there, right? So you'd have to already have this craft in space, in some sort of medium Earth orbit. And the laser would then be firing at the back end of the craft, filling up a chamber that contains hydrogen plasma. So when its core is heated up to 40,000 degrees Kelvin, 72,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hydrogen gas flowing around the core gets up to about 10,000 Kelvin, 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and will be expelled out of a nozzle, creating thrust enough to propel the ship away from the Earth over an interval of about 58 minutes of being hit by this laser. I would have some other slight onboard thrusting that would allow it to maintain its alignment with the Earth so the laser can keep hitting it. So when the beam stops, beaming's over, payload zips away at a velocity of almost 17 kilometers per second relative to the Earth, fast enough to go past the moon's orbital distance in a mere 8 hours. When it reaches the Martian atmosphere in a month and a half, it will be traveling at 16 kilometers per second, which, if you're not familiar with kilometers per second, that is about the same as 960 kilometers per minute. Mars in only 45 days. Did it, got it, good. However, problem is, once there, it's moving at 16,000 meters per second, and it's presenting a different issue. How do you stop the thing?
Lasers on the other end?
Exactly.
Reverse
You would have to have
lasers?
lasers at the other end, and then a different reverse thruster of the same thing is one of the possibilities. But that also requires all the power generation of 80,000. How is this stuff? So if you don't have that on Mars yet, they need to use air brakes, which apparently is a thing that's not just in Looney Tunes. Right?
Space brakes. Well, I guess
Yeah,
air brakes when you hit the Martian atmosphere. Is that the idea? You just hit
space
it
brakes.
really fast.
Yeah. So they can't use chemical propellant because apparently for that it would use 96%, 94% of the weight of the vehicle, the original 1,000 kilograms that NASA was asking for. It would all be fuel used to do a chemical reverse thrust. So that's out. So
Lasers.
yeah, the lasers is the best option, but you already have to then have the infrastructure on Mars. What they used is the aero capture or air braking with a single pass around Mars would basically mean jamming the craft into the Martian atmosphere. Spaceship would experience deceleration of up to 8 Gs, which is a lot. That's a lot of Gs.
People are going to love that.
I was thinking about all the G's for acceleration first, and then all the G's of slowing down. Oh my god!
Oh my goodness.
So at least the acceleration, it sounds like you get about a minute of buildup on that acceleration. You're gonna be done decelerating very quickly. I don't even know if it's gonna be a couple of minutes, because a couple of minutes of 8 Gs is maybe you make it. You know, you're trained, you're wearing a G suit and all that. Maybe you make it, maybe you don't.
This really doesn't sound like this is for humans. It sounds like it's for cargo.
So for cargo, it's a fantastic. But the thing is, they really want it for the humans too, because then you don't have 6 months of space radiation exposure.
Yeah.
There's
and
another
also
problem.
you get to do tourism is the real thing, right?
Tourism.
Is that it's not a one-way trip.
Well, it might be, because it might just be a penal colony. Sure, if Mars is going to be. It could be the next Australia. Large heat fluxes on the craft also are a little bit of a problem. Right now, the heat from that air braking would exceed our thermal protection system materials. However, it is below the heat that would be experienced by the materials that we have that are under active development that look like they'll be coming out. So it looks like we've got on the horizon thermal shielding that would be able to handle that. And this is a quotey voice of Emmanuel Duplay, who's the lead author of the study, who worked on the project for over 2 years at McGill. Laser thermal propulsion enables rapid transport missions of 1 ton with laser arrays the size of a volleyball court. There is that volleyball court reference to the laser array. Some laser electric propulsion can only do with kilometer class arrays. So much smaller array than other previous proposals that were in this ballpark. Great advantage is its extremely low mass to power ratio, far below even those cited for nuclear propulsion technologies, due to the fact that the power source isn't on the craft. The main power source is down here on Earth.
Or on Mars.
Or on Mars, yes, or eventually on Mars.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I mean, we already have these, these solar sails that are working with the idea of just using light to propel them. We've got crafts that are already working according to that technique, and so this is just taking it a little bit different, a different tack on it, and the intensity of laser light. Pew pew pew. Martian space lasers. Okay, Blair.
Yes.
What's your next story? What's your first story? Oh my goodness. Yes.
My very first story of the day. It's
Mhm.
all about spider silk. We know that scientists have their eye on spider silk for a lot of different purposes. But what if you could use spider silk as a platform to grow nerve or muscle cells?
Ooh,
Wait,
this
so this has
sounds like how
nothing.
superheroes
y-
get started.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that angle. I was trying to get the superhero angle with it. And so, yes, we will grow the superheroes on
Yes.
spider silk.
Exactly. Yes. More spider silk than men. So spider silk, it's non-toxic, it's biocompatible, it attracts virtually no microbes, it's tough, it's stable, and it's biodegradable. All that to say, it's a perfect thing to stick in your body to grow tissues on. So researchers from University of Beirut, Germany, have optimized a natural product in more than one way simultaneously using a biotechnological approach. They made a two-sided spider silk fiber, which provided damaged nerve cells or muscle cells with a platform for growth. One side of the fiber is suitable for cell adhesion, and the other side is used to attach factors or other substances. So one of them was formed from a spider silk protein in which the team substituted a single amino acid. And by doing that, they reversed the net charge from negative to positive of that protein. And the surface of that material then became more attractive to cells. So that's your spot for cells to grow on. And then the other side, they added the amino acid cysteine, cysteine. And in the addition of cysteine, it makes it possible to employ click chemistry, which is a method for functionalizing materials where the reaction partners react so easily with one another that it's as if they can be clicked together. So all that to say, they were able to make this fiber in a way that it was perfect for muscles to grow on there. They're excited by electrical impulses, and so they were able to figure out this perfect kind of spider silk scaffolding for cells.
Wow, that is really groovy.
Mm-hmm. This is so interesting. I mean, we're looking at so many different platforms for growing cells, right? We've done 3D printing. We've got, so there's a lot of plastics.
Got
there
the bleached pig pieces. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. We've taken organs, from other animals and just cleared them of everything except just the cellular substructure and just said, here, now you can grow cells. But this is really interesting because it'll allow the cells to grow more organically and flexibly.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and there's no danger of any foreign material getting in. For the most part, it doesn't start with something that's not compatible, and it is naturally kind of repellent to microbes. So, in theory, it should be a perfect opportunity to grow cells on. So, yeah. So they made some crazy two-sided spider silk for your body.
Gold coated spider silk.
Yes. Oh, yes. I forgot to mention the gold coating. Yes.
So
one side was coated with gold nanoparticles. That was that click chemistry, which made them electrically conductive.
Gold. This is amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for this.
Of course.
We will grow our superheroes on gold-coated spider silk.
Yeah. Forget adamantium-laden skeletons. My skeleton is covered in spider silk, man.
I love it. And let's see, my last story for this intro portion of the show. How do we get pathogens? Some researchers have been digging into what has led some microbes to become pathogenic to humans specifically, because maybe in the dirt, these organisms are not pathogenic, but then when they get into people, they are. And so it's a difference of environment, yes, but what is it that actually teaches them to do the things that harm humans? And the example from this particular study that was published this last week is that there's with COVID, there is the black fungus that has been outbreaking in COVID patients where the immune system is depressed and then a fungus gets in and causes a fungal infection that can be very, very dangerous and difficult to treat. This fungus is caused by a fungus that grows in the ground, rhizopus. And rhizopus is normally not a problem at all. It's just a normal fungus. It's in the dirt, it lives with the plants, and it's in the dirt, and it's happy. But there's a predator that is after rhizopus. It's an amoeba that's called dictylostelium. Dictylostelium, the amoeba, comes amoebaing after the fungus.
It's
And
the only way to
rhizopus,
describe that.
this amoeba's coming. And rhizopus is like, what do I do? So what does rhizopus do? It partners up with another bacterium called Ralstonia. Ralstonia lives inside of rhizopus and can hide from the amoeba as well, because the amoeba is really after everybody. And everybody's like, what do we
Jerk
do?
amoeba.
Ralstonia gets nutrients and protection from rhizopus, but the thing that rhizopus gets is a toxin that Ralstonia produces to protect itself from the nasty dictyostelium. Dictyostelium. And so rhizopus in the dirt, when it is partnered up with this little bacterium, can protect itself, and it doesn't succumb to the amoeba, and everything's great. But you put rhizopus with Ralstonia in a person, and suddenly that toxin is incredibly toxic to people. And so the problem is not necessarily these organisms, but where they are and when they are. So understanding these ecological connections is really important potentially for helping human health, because now we know that if somebody who presents with a rhizopus black fungus infection, if we treat the toxin, you can potentially let the immune system dig in and do the work it needs to do to rid the body of the fungus.
Neat.
Yeah. So it's an ecological connection.
That's really cool. That's a situation where these two buddies are worth way more together than the sum of their parts to our deficit. But it's definitely one of those things where you're talking about ecology. That's exactly it, right? Is organisms' interactions creating something wholly new and different. And yeah, I know it's scary and sad for people who are infected, but I also think it's kind of cool.
Exactly. I mean, it's what these organisms have done, teaming up together to survive and exist in dirt, But yeah, so it's this multi-level interaction that is fascinating, and we have to remember that we exist in this world of complex interactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's important for healthcare too, right? So especially, I understand when you're seeing something over and over, especially right now, you're dealing with COVID patients in healthcare settings. You're trying to just kind of deal with symptoms as much as you can, because the sheer volume, right? It kind of, you don't have time to stop and think and go, I wonder what happened when this bacteria and this fungus hang out. So it's pretty wild to think about as from a human health standpoint, that you have to consider the ecological connection of these things.
No, we want to consider everything one-off, isolated in a box.
Just kill it with fire.
That.
We like to categorize.
Don't give us another layer of complexity. Don't give us another layer of complexity. Don't give me interactions between things producing things that the individuals didn't produce on their own. No.
Forget everything you knew about human health. No, never mind. Sorry. Don't forget. Don't forget it all. Just add this, please.
You are a special snowflake. Oh my goodness. All right, everybody. This is This Week in Science. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this week. We're so glad that you are here with us. Why don't you bring a friend next time? Tell a friend about TWIS, because this science needs to be shared. All right, let's come on back for our quick COVID update.
That's the correct sound effect. That's for sure the right one.
All right. Removing Justin from the screen until he comes back. So, in COVID news this week, let's talk about a new CDC statement. If you've heard the news, lots of states are dropping mask mandates right and left. They're like, woohoo, our numbers are down. Everything's great. Everybody's had COVID, so we're all protected. Well, the CDC director has come out and said, no, please, no, we're not there yet.
That was the press release.
Don't rush to the finish line yet. Yeah, so because we are in a global situation, even though there may be states and places with lower case numbers and with higher vaccinated numbers, and also of people who have been infected, so higher numbers of people who are protected. There are lots of places that still are suffering. And here in Oregon, I think also in California, there are case numbers are dropping, but hospitals are still full. And we just passed 900,000 dead across the country, which is not something we want to get an award for. This is something that we have brought on ourselves with our human behavior. Just remember, we can all make choices to protect everybody else. So, keep an eye on the case rates wherever you are. When cases go down below about 50 people per 100,000 per 7-day period, from 50 to 100 is considered high by the CDC. And once you're below that, you start getting into more moderate zones of infectivity, infectiousness within, or transmission within a community. But I think it's something like 99% of counties across the United States have high levels of transmission at this point in time. So as much as we want it to be done, it's not done yet. And let's not drive it faster to the finish line. Let's try and keep our hospitals from filling up. Let's let this thing kind of peter out on its own. We've done the masking, we've done the social distancing this long. We can keep doing it just a little longer. Just watch those case numbers, keep an eye on things in your local area, and use your good judgment.
This is such a strange situation where when we're doing something that's working, we choose that as a signal to stop doing that thing.
It's working. I don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah. My brain was really having a problem with this today because it's, oh, great. We did this thing and it dropped cases down.
We're not
Still
done.
Higher than they've been in most of the pandemic.
They're at the levels of the peak from last year.
Yeah,
right
and we're considering that like good because Omicron levels were insane 4 weeks ago, which was not that long ago. Remember, COVID is around for 5 to 10 to 14 days, depending on the variant.
Yeah,
so
10 to 14
weeks ago, that's 2 cycles. That's 2 cycles of infection. What are we doing? It's so the county
we are being human. We're being human, but
the county where I work is the one Bay Area county that is not dropping its mask mandate next week, and everyone's very mad. And the public health official who made the decision said there's 2,000 cases a day of COVID still in that county.
Yep.
I'm not dropping the mask mandate. I'm like, you know what? All the power to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Let's
I'm sick
protect
of
each
wearing
other.
a mask at work, but
We're
you know
all
what?
sick of it.
It gave me TMJ, but I'm
I
still
know.
wearing it.
Hey, everyone. Blair wears a mask, even though it gave her TMJ so badly that she couldn't come to the show last week.
Yeah. So,
Just a little bit
but I'm
longer.
still wearing a mask so I don't kill anybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Another aspect of the ongoing pandemic becoming endemic is the question of what are we going to do about booster shots? And are we going to want to have variant specific booster shots that we will take every 6 months or so? Well, there is some new data out from Moderna, which is actually really interesting and actually supports anyway, new data out of Moderna, in which they have done a monkey trial, and in their monkey trial using an Omicron booster shot. So they had monkeys that had been vaccinated with with the original Moderna vaccine, and then they either received no vaccine, no booster shot, an Omicron specific booster shot that had been formulated specifically for the Omicron spike protein, and a regular Moderna additional booster shot. They found that there was no benefit to the Omicron specific shot in these monkeys. They also are testing this on humans. We're waiting to see if this is verified, but so far this completely lines up with this idea of what's called original antigenic sin, antigenic imprinting, that people have been talking about and worrying about, with the idea of like, oh, if we just get too many shots, what is our body going to be responding to? And so researchers think that's what's happening, is that even though the Omicron variant is different enough to cause breakthrough infection cases in vaccinated people, the body, when you give a booster shot, it doesn't care whether it's the other spike protein or the Omicron spike protein, because there's enough stuff that's similar that the body's just like, I know what that is. And it just brings up its old B memory cells.
Mhm.
And it says, I've already got this. And it makes antibodies, which it's supposed to do. And that's fantastic. But it's not making Omicron specific antibodies. So the question now is, what will we do in terms of shots going forward? Definitely, this needs to be played out and tested in people, and we need to look at a couple of different types of booster shots. But what this suggests is that we might not need to have lots of different variant shots as it evolves and mutates, and that we may just need to kind of, on a regular basis, get a booster. So boosters will be good still, but it might not need to be a special booster.
Is it still a booster if it's an annual shot? Like, is our flu shot considered a booster?
Well, it's not a flu shot booster, but
You know what
it
I
is
mean?
similar. I
Just
think
curious.
because the flu virus reconfigures itself differently enough every year that our
Okay.
bodies just like, I don't even know what to do with this. And so our bodies are always
That sounds
responding
familiar.
differently.
Yeah, but so I guess that's my point. If our annual COVID shot is formulated for the latest variants, let's say,
And
so
it could be. Yeah.
if it is it, this is just a silly question, but is it still a booster then? Or is it just your annual COVID shot?
That's at a certain point in time, it might be just your annual COVID shot. I don't know. The lingo. I don't know the lingo. This is something that this needs to be worked out by the public health people.
Branding.
So that we know
something the public health group has been excellent at is
Tell us
branding
what we
throughout the pandemic. So they need to figure that out. Anyway.
I sense some sarcasm.
No.
Wow.
No.
Let's see. Beyond this question of boosters and original antigenic sin, which is such a dramatic term for a scientific concept, there was a Pew Research survey out this last week. Pew wanted to know how the public felt about COVID-19, the United States COVID-19 response. And what we find is, after 2 years, people are really upset. A lot of people are confused, and the big number is that the majority of people are pretty much confused. 60% of U.S. adults say they felt confused as a result of changes to public health officials' recommendations on how to slow the spread of coronavirus, and this is up from last summer. So people were confused, and they're more confused now. So they're note to officials: you're communicating poorly.
What did I
Gotta
just
work.
say?
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
and also part of it is communicating poorly. A big part of it is also failing
Mhm.
to have the
Failing to
solution.
have a plan. Yeah.
Just failing. No, just failing to have the appropriate solution at every point along this journey we've been on.
And to change
could have
the
just
change the
done that.
story as it goes. Yeah.
We could have
Yeah.
just done that hard shutdown, but it's like nobody wanted to be the adult in the room and say,
Yeah.
no,
Nobody wanted to take the hit.
We just need to go to bed now. We're not going to get better. The tantrum or whatever is happening in our country is not going to. Everybody just needs to sleep.
Here's $500 box of groceries, rent relief, and a video game. Go have fun.
It's one of these things, because this is a tangent, and I won't go into it, but it costs more money, costs society more money to incarcerate an individual than it would have costed to educate and furnish them with a job. Now, why it is that we continue to fund incarceration and not education as a society is one of those things that no adult in the room said, hey, we're doing this wrong.
It's the same reason we do this with the shutdown. It's the same reason we do what we do with climate change. It's instant gratification. It's all about that. It's about, I want to fix this right now.
But
I don't want to wait to see results.
It's patchwork. It's ad hoc. It's always trying to fix the symptom and not the cause. And it's
short-term solution always. No long game. Never a long game.
No.
We are lucky in this report, however, the survey, which isn't necessarily representative of all U.S. adults. They say that they found 78% of U.S. adults from the survey said they have received at least one dose, 73 being fully vaccinated, 66% of fully vaccinated adults saying they received an additional COVID-19 booster shot in the last 6 months. But this does fall along partisan lines, however, where 73% of fully vaccinated Democrats say they've gotten a COVID-19 booster shot compared with 55% of fully vaccinated Republicans. So these partisan differences are a big issue, and especially when it comes down to what we will require vaccinations for in the future. So range of activities from proof of COVID-19 for air travel, 58% generally favor that, which is was split between Democrats and Republicans. 76% of Democrats favor requiring vaccination for a sporting event or a concert, 26% of Republicans for that.
But they still want to go.
They still want to go. They still want to go. Yes. They still want to go to a sporting event or a concert. Yes. Yes. So there are some really interesting numbers about all of this, which, do give us insights into the divides that are affecting our public health issues in this day and age, as we hope that we can just let this Omicron wave crest and crash.
The problem we have in public health with nobody doing the things that will protect each other from this is the same thing the planet has the problem with humans. It's like we're like, gosh, what's with these humans? They're just destructive, and it's like they don't care about their own sustainability, let alone the rest of us. Oh yeah, that's how the rest of the world life forms have been thinking about humans this whole time. Yes, that's what you guys do, if you hadn't noticed.
Yay, humans! This is This Week in Science. We're done with COVID. At least this section of the show for the time being.
I'm done with it.
Done with it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of our show. If you are enjoying TWIS, please head over to our website, twis.org, and click on that Patreon link. You can help support the ongoing production of this show week in and week out. If you choose $10 or more per month, not even per week, per month, we will thank you by name at the end of the show. We really can't do this without you. Thank you for your support. All right, coming back now with more This Week in Science. And oh, wait, I know what time it is. It's the TMJ hour. Oh, wait, no. No. It's Blair's Animal Corner.
With Blair.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. If you want to hear about animals, she's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. There's Animal Corner.
What you got, Blair?
Well, we were just talking about the perils of being human. Let's talk about animals. Animals, they're true.
Not human.
They're fair. Non-human animals.
Yes.
Unless they're big fat cheaters.
Oh, no.
I want to talk about cheating animals. This is a study from Duke University. Not cheating, like extra
Marital.
monogamous copulation, but more about just cheating, like a scam, if you will, a swindle. So this story actually reminded me of something that happened. Well, I should say it reminded Brian. I was telling him about it. And he said, you know what that sounds like? It sounds like the Ghost Army in World War II. Have you heard of this? Either of you? This was inflatable tanks.
Yeah, this is the British. The British.
Yes.
Inflatable? What?
So
The
this was
British
actually...
made
So this was something developed in the U.S. Army in New Orleans, and then it was shipped overseas. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the Ghost Army had 24 missions between May 1944 and 1945, and they were kind of tracking the Nazis, and then they would set up all these inflatable tanks. And so the idea was that on reconnaissance missions or from far away, it would look like they had way more tanks than they really did. Now, did it cost nothing to make them? No, definitely cost something. Did it cost nothing to set them up and move them around? No, it definitely cost something, but definitely a lot less than building and moving real tanks. And that's really what this story is about a swindle, a trick done by animals in a similar fashion. So animal weapons are often large, clunky, heavy appendages. Think about antlers on deer, lobster claws. They're metabolically very costly for the animal to maintain. They have lots of muscle because they're used in combat. And so some animals can spend 40% of their energy budget for a day just maintaining themselves sitting there doing nothing, especially if they have these large combat-based appendages that are very costly. And so this study wanted to look at snapping shrimps and one species of fiddler crab. And they wanted to see how these animals were developing these huge claws and if that was impacting their metabolic output. So it turns out muscles, like I was saying, require a lot of energy to maintain, but chitin, the main component of a crab or shrimp's outer shell, is mostly inert. It takes energy to make it, but once produced, it costs almost nothing to maintain. The same goes for keratin, which are things like rhino horns, bird feathers, and of course, our fingernails. And so these initial kind of investments to make this big flashy thing could actually end up being very advantageous if they're not spending a bunch of energy maintaining it after that. Just build it and you're done. And so for each species, they looked at the relationship between weapon size and the ratio of soft, expensive tissue to hard, cheap exoskeleton. They found that the larger the weapon, the higher the proportion of exoskeleton it contained. So the muscle didn't grow proportionally, leaving larger weapons with more cheap crunch and less expensive muscle. The idea is their opponents have trouble assessing whether they're bigger, stronger, or simply have a giant claw that's worth nothing. And so the reason that this seems to work is that, as is the case with many animals that fight with each other, the battles are often won by intimidation. A lot of the time, they never even come to blows. And when they do escalate to full-blown violence, they're rarely lethal. Also, specifically if you're looking at shrimp and crabs, if a crab claw gets ruined, they can pull it off and grow a new one. So it's advantageous to them to kind of try to trick other crabs into thinking that they're more formidable than they actually are. And so the example that they gave here in the article was if there were two knights face to face, one had an average sized sword and the other one had a massive fear-inducing sword covered with blood. The knight with the medium-sized sword runs away, but it turns out that larger sword covered in blood was plastic. They never know, right? And so that is exactly how these crabs get by. So this is a good example of a species kind of through evolutionary chance, there being a greater advantage. They said, figure it out. And then I was like, no, let's be real. So really what's happening is, out of chance, some of the claws had more chitin to muscle. The chitin to muscle ratio was higher in the chitin end. And so they were just as good at scaring off other crabs, but they put less energy into that claw and therefore had more energy later to breed, to move, to eat, to do other things. And so there was a large evolutionary advantage to taking this tack if the output is the same. If you scare away a crab no matter what, doesn't matter if you're faking it.
Well, it does matter because in the end, that becomes a driving, like you said, it's a driving selection factor. So
Right.
you have more fakers.
Right.
So what does this mean for the spring crab feeds? Like, how do I choose?
Yeah, so don't
Which-
necessarily pick the giant claw because it might be really thick with chitin and not have a lot of the meat inside.
Fair.
Yeah.
Your crab might have been faking it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I wonder how much more often this happens. Like, what other features on different animals would be like this? I mean, we know that, horns on deer are big signals. But those aren't necessarily muscularly attached and have it's a different tissue need. So
Right.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how many other traits this would potentially connect to.
Yeah. Inflatable tanks as one. Anyway, moving on.
Pretty soon it's just going to be inflatable crab claws.
Yeah, why not? So moving from cheaters to doctors, would you see a chimpanzee doctor?
Well,
No, I would not
At
see a
this
cheater
point-
doctor either.
At this point, I'd consider it. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I've not been super impressed with some of the healthcare advice over the years.
So scrape your knee,
Something
maybe
recent.
rub a bug in it.
Yeah.
Break
That
your
sounds
leg,
Perfectly acceptable.
No.
rub a bug in it.
Wait.
Also
What?
sounds like that could work.
What?
Bruise your face, rub a bug in it.
Blair.
I thought about trying that before.
TMJ, rub a bug in it.
I keep
Did you
hearing
try?
you say rub a bug in it. Are you meaning to say that?
Yes, I am. So
Oh.
a study from Osnabrück University and a Züge Chimpanzee Project has for the first time observed chimpanzees applying insects to their own wounds and the wounds of conspecifics. So Dr. Chimp saying rub a bug in it. They investigated the behavior of a community of about 45 chimpanzees with a special focus on their social relationships, interactions, and disputes with other groups, their hunting behavior, tool use, and their cognitive and communicative skills. And by chance, they found one of them regularly capturing insects and applying them onto open wounds. Then they kept looking and found 22 events, mostly involving individuals applying insects to their own wounds. But in many other cases, they would apply the insects to the wounds of others. So, self-medication, where individuals use plant parts or non-nutritional substances to combat pathogens or parasites, has been observed in the animal kingdom before. It's been observed across multiple animal species, insects, reptiles, birds, and mammals. But this is the first time, as far as these researchers know, as far as we know, that an animal has been shown to apply something topically in this way. So this is a very specific thing. External application of animal matter onto an open wound has never been documented.
So now ancient chimpanzee secret. We need to see if it works.
Right. Okay, so you're jumping right to the heart of the matter here. So the bug might have an anti-inflammatory or antiseptic property, or it might be that such a behavior has no beneficial consequences and is instead part of local chimpanzee culture. Just as this is a biting remark from the researcher. Just as a large number of medical treatments are in human societies, which we know is true. Crystals. Anyway, moving on. As the next step, the researchers do aim to recover
homeopathy.
Oh yeah, there you go. So the next step is to figure out exactly what Justin was asking. They want to recover remaining insect parts that were used to apply to wounds, to identify the species, one, because they still haven't figured that out, and then
figure out if it is there's a selection process on top of it, not just any bug. Can't just use any bug. You need specific bugs, or will any bug do it? Just any bug in a storm.
Yes. So that's one, is it a particular bug? And then two, carry out bioassays to investigate the potential pharmaceutical properties. What specifically in the bug are they using, if anything? And then they also want to focus on the social dimension of this behavior. Who are the main actors? Who are the main receivers of treatment? Are there a couple of kind of designated doctors in a chimpanzee troop?
And then, does everybody get to play doctor?
Does everyone do it? As well as the social learning process to allow for transmission. How does a young chimp learn to do this behavior? Is it specific to this group of chimps? Does it happen elsewhere? Does it happen in bonobos? There are a million questions.
So many questions. And did these chimpanzees happen to come in contact with humans? And are they copying a behavior they saw in humans?
Yeah. Like, did a human get a bug bite and then rub something on and the chimps missed a step?
I mean, there are so many questions about that leap from, just kind of a happenstance use of plants, like putting particular herbal plants in nests to, certain plants have anti-pest properties, like in the compounds that are in their leaves. And so a lot of birds, rodents will put these kinds of things in their nests. But when did that start happening? How did it start happening? Is it learned? Is it how do you know? Is it just that's just what grows in the area and it just is accidental? Or, and then how does that go to a cultural, societal step? Like,
yeah. And bonus, will we discover a new pharmaceutical from this?
Ooh, we can all rub a bug on it.
Yeah.
I can't wait for my rub a bug on it spray.
Yeah. Liquid bee for what ails you.
Do you have a bug bite, a cut, a burn? Are you in pain, itching? Rub a bug on it spray just for you.
Love it.
Thank you for bringing the story. It's
Yeah.
I love the stories that bring more questions
Yes.
than answers.
Those are my
It's
favorite kind.
it's like, "Ooh, we get to report on this for a long time to come."
Yeah, you really cracked something open here. I love that.
A bug.
Yeah.
You
Cracked
did.
a bug open, squirted it on, and rubbed it down.
Nice. Crack a bug on it. Oh, my goodness. All right, Justin, would you like to tell us some stories now? Bring us from the animal corner into Justin's lack of sleep time.
Yeah, I will. As soon as my
Yeah.
oh god, this new computer is like really slow at loading things. Okay, so Homo sapiens. That's what the current modern human scientists call themselves. And this version of the upright ape emerged in Africa over 300,000 years ago. Really became the complete anatomically current modern human around 195,000 years ago. First early modern humans outside of Africa we have found are Israel around 185,000 years ago, possibly Greece around 210,000 years ago. There's modern human remains that have been documented in East Asia 80,000 years ago, Australia 65,000 years ago, and then Europe, however, it takes it took them a lot longer to find Europe, even though you would think Europe is much closer to Africa than a lot of those distant places. Current modern humans don't show up until somewhere in the 45 to 43,000 years ago, and that's based on just 5 isolated dental remains from 3 sites in Italy. 43,000 years ago. Okay, most recent
So
Neanderthals. Yeah, most recent Neanderthals, 40,000 years ago in Europe. That's the most recent. So there's like this, it's like there were Neanderthals, boom, and then there's humans. And that's kind of it. Records show the earliest modern human remains and then the transitional technologies of those humans that they brought to Europe are found above layers where they find Neanderthal activity. So there's no mixing of these layers. There's no then mixing evidence of the cultures. It is impossible to point to any likely encounter between the two populations in any particular region of Europe for any amount of time at all. Until now. This is Grotte Mandarin, Mediterranean, France, reveals the earliest known arrival of modern humans in Europe to date. This is between 56,800 and 51,700 years ago. And it shows evidence of successive replacement phases. Occupation by Neanderthals, occupation by modern humans, occupation by Neanderthals again, occupation by modern humans yet again. And that took place over the last 1,000 years of Neanderthals' existence in the area. So this is not just a site that has, close to, but this is jumping back and forth for a very long time. The site yielded nearly 60,000 stone and bone objects and tools. It's quite a big number. As well as 70,000 animal remains that were dominated by horse, bison, and deer. There were hominin fossils, 9 dental specimens representing a minimum of 7 individuals. Ancient DNA analysis was carried out on the horse fossils, not on the human fossils. Reason being, they basically wanted to assess whether the level of DNA preservation was good enough to merit destroying the fossils.
Right, because you once you go to analyze it, you've destroyed bone, you've destroyed tooth,
yes,
you can't go back.
Yeah, they want that data, but the poor preservation signal from the horse material made them decide they're not going to sample the remains the hominin remains at this time, which is extremely important. And just by itself, this is an interesting story because and that's the site that you got up there on the live stream. You know, if you cycle down through that, you can see all the stone and bone tools and stuff. It's quite a prolific site for artifacts that they have discovered here. It's just incredible. So one of the interesting things then is here's part of what archaeology has to always decide what to do. We can look at a thing, and everything you look at is destroyed. Every time you do a dig, you're destroying evidence in a sense. You can only dig it once. You can only record where things were, where the layers are. Parts of these sites had been looked at in the past, but in the long past, and it was such a shoddy job, they couldn't tell the layers of Neanderthal tools from these other, they now realize are current modern human tools and instruments, because the work hadn't been done in a methodical way. You destroy it when you look at it, for one. And then to do the DNA analysis, having to destroy something that they can get maybe morphological, forensic type of information out of still and can look at, maybe not worth it yet. So that's the thing. Also, methods of extracting DNA, methods of doing this are improving as years go by. So the researchers are like, we have the thing you want to get your hands on to do this, but our technology isn't there yet. So they're preserving that information for future archaeologists or researchers to look at by not attempting the moonshot with the DNA extraction, but rather waiting for that to be more commonplace.
But it's really great that they're able to at least do the dating to the point of being able to look at all of these artifacts and everything and say, we've got human hominid and we've got Neanderthal. They're all mixed together, but this human stuff has definitely been here. So we know that humans were in Europe before we thought humans were in Europe.
And so in this one, it's actually not all mixed up. In this dig that they're doing, they've gone back and they've gone back layer by layer, and they can see transitions over time as it went back and forth between human and Neanderthal. One of the other things that's sort of remarkable is the standardized small points. Some of these are measuring only 1 centimeter in length, 3 centimeters. These are tiny points, and they're a very big difference, substantial technological difference from the Neanderthal technology that's found at the site. They were given a unique cultural attribution of Neuronian technology because they resemble tech found at another site. But until now, that Neuronian industry, it's the name of another cave where something similar was found. That's where it got this name, and it's very similar to that technology. That is, but this is much earlier. This is much earlier than that other site, and so there might be a technology link to these modern humans and other modern human settlements previously in different areas, who up till now they haven't really known for sure that technology was from modern humans, and they didn't know who made it. They just had been finding it, and it's like very unique compared to the Neanderthal technology. So now there is also this path that can sort of be followed and traced to sort of
ancient
see where these
human trade routes. Yeah.
But it sounds like a fantastic site. The number of artifacts they have to study, the number of the tools that are present, the changing layers over time, showing that back and forth interaction for the first time, and the oldest current modern humans in Europe.
We've been there. We've been there. Not just Neanderthals. People were there. We were there.
Yeah.
So cool. What's
and
your
then
next story?
the last one I have is this is not much of a story. Basically, there's a study that finds health apps could help old people with everything and anything from sleep to diabetes, but most of those older adults don't use them. And the reason they discovered that these people aren't using these these medical apps is because they're old people. That's
Really?
Well,
I mean,
no, there's like a whole page of words I could say about percentages of people who it's like more than half they'd be interested in using apps that do all the things that apps are out there for. I mean, you can even link them to diabetes monitoring that you're wearing. You can link it to your blood pressure. You can link to all these sorts of things that help monitor. You can then take that to your doctor and say, hey, here's what I've been experiencing. And none of them are using it. And what they're finding is compared to a decade ago, most older adults didn't even own smart devices. The tablet thingy, the phone, whatever. Now that number has gone up substantially, and yet they're still not using it. So they need tech help. Maybe. Also, part of it is there's, I guess, a fear of having that health data out there. Look, if you're already an older adult, like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares what nobody's tracking your blood pressure. No. Big tech isn't looking to see what your glucose level is. That's not what that's about. Nobody cares.
I mean, we could talk forever about the sociology of this. I think a lot of it is that this is also the demographic who is most likely to be swindled by online scams. And so I think there's a huge fear because they didn't grow up with the internet. They're not trained inherently to be able to tell what a reliable and reputable source is to pump information into versus something that's going to try to steal your bank account information.
Yeah.
So I think there's an inherent fear because they feel like victims, which they often are the ones who are being targeted as victims by apps and the internet.
Well, there's that, and then there's, also just picking up the phone. I mean, I don't know if my dad's watching right now, but I mean, he's very into apps and his smartphone and all the things, and he's on his phone all the time, just like everybody with these mobile devices that are attached to us all the time. But there is also, just the adoption, the full adoption, and what are you really doing when you adopt it? Are you using the smart device as just a phone and for texting and for Facebook? Or are you using it as like the journal of your life, the thing that connects you to everything, which so many younger people are doing. So there's, the variation in how you use the technology.
Yeah, that's the thing that occurred to me is it's going forward. That's probably going to be less of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah.
And a third of them, but it was, and a third really expressed interest in wanting to use a lot of the capability, want to have the capability that a lot of these apps provide, but we're just unaware of it before the survey even. Like it seems like there needs the medical profession that the rub a bug in it chimp can have a rub a bug in it app where you like put in your symptoms and you say,
Perhaps
what do I do? And hit the button and it can just say rub a bug in it over and over again. But the medical profession is missing huge amount if they're not telling patients about this, if they're not including some sort of health monitoring apps for their patients to connect to their medical record, to connect to their doctors. So the doctor's like, don't even come in. I just looked over. Your blood pressure's been fine. Whatever it is.
I think that's the thing. The point that kind of keeps coming up is public health communication. Yeah. So if the people would be interested in using the app, but they don't know about it, whose fault is that?
Well, also, will the app replace doctor visits that insurance companies can make money off of?
Right? That insurance
not to be super cynical about it, but I can tell you right now on my phone, I have 3 different apps from my healthcare provider for different things.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And
I do not.
It's annoying because I think it should be one app. But I do have 3 apps on my phone. That's the thing, though. I'm not going to download a 4th health app right now.
I mean,
It's good.
I'm gonna say I don't want another app on my phone. If I can avoid downloading any app, I will avoid it. Just leave me alone with your apps. I don't care. I am an old person and I am not interested in your apps. Okay? Don't give me an app. Just call me on the phone. Can you send me an email? I don't know. Texts are awesome. No more apps.
Kiki wants
I'm
to go
tired.
straight to the entree. No apps.
No apps. No apps.
So,
No.
but yeah, Kiki brings up a great point. Like, what was it? The thing there was
Leave me alone.
like, I was like, oh, hey, we got a deal that you can have a coffee here, but you need to get our coffee app. Okay, well, why don't I just do a transaction? No, we need you to use the app for your transaction now. I'm sorry, you can't.
I'm gonna go get coffee
be with-
someplace else because I don't care.
And you
I'm
go
gonna
across the street and they're like, oh, great. Hey, welcome. I'm glad you left them. Here's hey, download our app and you can, oh, no, it's here too. It's like, yeah, you're right. It's gone to the point where it's too many. It's too much.
Just
You need
everybody.
one app to rule them all. Just one app that you can go into.
a
Call it
nice
just
website where
a
people can
smart
go.
device that has
I
all the apps
agree.
in one. where you just
I
pay.
miss websites.
I miss websites. I can choose to go to it. It's not. I just like a website. Give
And
me
then
a
when I
computer
leave,
and a website.
when I exit out of that website, it's not tracking me anymore. That's why the apps exist, so they can track you.
And wasn't that the thing that Apple kind of like told everybody too? Like, where you're like, oh, hey, and Google and all that. Hey, oh, yeah, I was just talking about drinking coffee, and now I'm getting coffee ads on my social media stuff. Oh, my phone is listening to me. No, it turned out it was all those apps you downloaded that you gave insane amounts of permissions to listen to your every conversation without you even knowing it. And this is why old people aren't using the health apps.
Yeah, when they start getting their push notifications for sales at the funeral home, they're gonna be like, "What did my health app say?"
Or it's because you and all your friends have the same apps, and so, or maybe you don't have the app, but all your friends do, but all your phones know that you're all friends, and so the other apps know you anyway.
Yeah.
And so you still get the ads. Like, it's really gone too far. Honestly, this is my new T-shirt that I want. The metaverse can bite me.
So, but metaverse it might be where Blair ends up.
I know.
This might be the head in the jar of the future.
Might be how she lives forever. I know.
Because hang on, if the apps and all the social media and people document themselves for a lifetime of tweeting and all that information goes in to the algorithm, it just knows basically everything about you. You can die; it doesn't care. The meta version of you can persist. It knows all of your patterns. It knows your likes and your dislikes, your reactions. It knows you can just keep on going. Nobody dies anymore.
I'm gonna live forever. Yeah. I'm gonna learn how to fly. All right, fame. Anyway, I have stories.
Yeah.
What you got, Kiki?
I have some science stories. I want to talk about brains.
Shocking.
Who wants to talk about sonogenetics?
What's a sonogenetics?
Sonogenetics. Yeah, so it is an area of genetic manipulation of nerves to eventually affect behavior, behavioral responses, memories even, that instead of using a technique like optogenetics or invasive injections, that researchers could use ultrasound to stimulate nerves and get them to do what they want. And so this whole story of sonogenetics came about because it was an accident, really. A researcher was playing around with some C. elegans and discovered that when they put a particular kind of when they put ultrasound over the C. elegans was like and flopped around and didn't like it and wanted to go away. So then they turn the ultrasound off and the C. elegans is like, that was nice. And they're like, okay, what happened? They turn it on, ultrasound, Of course, C. elegans, it's a little worm, so it's not making these noises, but I don't know how to visualize a worm flopping around auditorily.
I think that's exactly what they would sound like.
Yes, so the C. elegans started this process back in like 2015. This little nematode was pulsing under ultrasound stimulation, and then they were like, okay, let's figure out what it is. These researchers, like, they spent months and months and months and months, like nothing. They couldn't figure out what molecule, what protein was responsible for making the response to the ultrasound in the worms, until finally, ta-da, one day, happy, they nailed down it's a particular protein that is called TRP1A, transient receptor potential A1, and it's a membrane channel that allows ions to travel across a membrane, but basically it stimulates the nerves in these worms and gets them to move. So the idea is that TRPA1 is a response to toxins or to painful stimuli, to stimuli that are dangerous. And so this particular molecule, they have looked to see whether they could stimulate it in other organisms. And so indeed, they have discovered that in this paper they've just published in Nature Communications, they have sonogenetic control of mammalian cells that using exogenous TRP1A channels. So they were invasive a bit because they injected the CRISPR stuff into the brain to get these TRP1A channels into the neurons in the brain for these mice, which we wouldn't want to do in the future. But and they're looking currently for other molecules that won't just turn on a nervous response, but also turn it off, because they can't necessarily turn it off once they've turned it on. In these mice that they injected this receptor into their brains, they were able to put ultrasound into over their heads, and then the limbs of the mice, the muscles tightened up and the limbs shook. So they were able to create movement in these mice by adding this protein to the brains of the mice. And maybe one day we too will be able to use ultrasound to stimulate behaviors in animals and people.
So this is what I was going to ask. I was going to say, go ahead, put this in a box, shove it in a storage facility. It's a bad idea. Except I'm sure there's actually a good application of this. Can you tell me what that would be? Because I'm having trouble figuring out what it is.
So for right now, it would be research applications. So essentially, at this point in time, there would not be hey, let's go use this and put somebody underneath ultrasound and then have something happen, right? We don't want people to walk through an ultrasound beam and suddenly start convulsing. You don't want something like that.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. Not yet.
No, yes, we do. Yes, we do. We need a human kill switch. We do. We do.
So maybe that's what it is. But at this point in time, what this is that optogenetics, light only goes so far into the brain. The blue light that they're using, the wavelengths that they use, can only travel so far through the skull and the neural tissue in the brain to actually have the effects that it does. And we've been using optogenetic research very successfully for a number of years now to figure out what different proteins do and what different areas of the brain are for. And so optogenetics has been great, except it's been limited. And so ultrasound can get deeper into tissue, can go places that other techniques cannot. And aside from the injecting stuff into the brain of the mice, it's not invasive with needles.
Right. Aside from that.
Aside from that, yes. Yeah,
I
so
think this would be very useful in society. Because there comes a point every once in a while.
turn you off.
It's a less lethal version than all of our less lethals are. It sounds like you just somebody's doing the wrong thing somewhere. You shoot them with the ultrasound beam, and they stop.
And they stop.
Yeah.
So, where this will go is still definitely up in the air. Its applications are still very limited. They only have an on switch. They don't have an off switch. So if a
Important.
yes,
Quite
I
important.
know.
very
I
important.
know.
So they're
I think
looking for other molecules that could be used, other proteins that could be used for different purposes. And so this is kind of the interesting thing. What molecules naturally respond to ultrasound and are also biologically active and important within, physiological systems? It's a big question. I don't know. Do you know? We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And then moving on from sonogenetics, let's use sound to influence the genes and the brain. Researchers, this is I guess, a little bit nicer story, but not. Anyway, researchers at Riken CBS out of Tokyo, they have been looking into social isolation, loneliness, social contact. What are the aspects of the brain that manage our will to connect with others? And they also published their study this week in Nature Communications, reporting on social contact seeking behavior in female mice. They focused specifically on female mice because most other studies to date have only used male mice.
Of course.
And male mice in their social interactions are very different behaviorally than female mice.
What?
Male mice what? Yeah. So male mice, it's hard to know. Very often their interactions are agonistic, especially when it comes to male interactions. Whereas there are many, many examples of different species of mice, house mouses being one of them, where female mice, they breed in groups, they have their babies together, they help raise the babies all together. And so that social contact is also part of maternal instinct, maternal nurturing. And so the reality of how the brain works and how the instincts work for motivating social contact between males and females in mice, and possibly also in humans, but this is specifically in mice because of what they've seen in the mouse breeding and maternal instinct and the way that they do things. But humans, because we also have maternal instinct, we just in Western countries now kind of do things on our own. Historically, it was all very social. But there could be a link between these things. And so these researchers were using that as their motivation for digging into this study. And so, yes, they took mice and they put them together in cages, and then they isolated them and they put them into different groups. And they wanted to find out, okay, what was happening in the brain. We know oxytocin is a big part of connecting, and that's in males and females. So oxytocin, dopamine, these things are all very related to these instincts. However, what they found is in a particular area of the brain of this kind of hypothalamic pre-visual cortex area of the brain, they found a specific protein called amylin peptide. Now, amylin peptide is produced by the pancreas, and it's also involved in digestion and insulin production, but it's also produced in the brain, and specifically in this area of the brain. And what they saw is that when these female mice were grouped together socially, amylin mRNA levels, the messenger RNA that goes to create more amylin, was nice and high. They isolated the females. amylin mRNA dropped. And when they brought the female back together with the group, amylin mRNA went back up again. They also found that if they had like a whole group of females who knew each other, amylin RNA was higher than if they had like a few that knew each other and a couple of strangers. So that kind of, they're thinking that it has to do with how much social contact they have. They also found that there were behaviors that the females did when they isolated a single female from the rest of the group, where the female, if it was in complete isolation where it couldn't see any other females, it was just isolated. But they had a particular paradigm in which they had a metal divider between the other group and the individual. And it started out with the single female trying to reach and connect with the females on the other side that they were isolated from. And during that time, the amylin mRNA was very high. The behavior of the contact seeking was very high. The female, they describe this as becoming depressed. The female became depressed, and that amylin mRNA decreased, and the contact seeking decreased. So what they're saying, so what they're saying is they think that, and still causation is not completely proven here, but the idea is that this protein, and we know that it's active in other mammalian systems, that this is specifically relevant to female contact, social contact. And so if it is active in humans, this suggests that potentially there are targets for people who are depressed, who are isolated, who are feeling lonely. This is a potential research direction to look at this amylin peptide to see whether or not it can be a therapeutic target for increasing people's urge, their motivation to seek out social contact and stimulation. So, maybe it's metaverse contact, I don't know, but it just not being alone. And because we know that being alone too much, social deprivation leads to mental deprivation, leads to pruning of your neurons, leads to depression, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that can affect mental health and physical health. So it's a very interesting directions.
It's too bad there's nothing going on in society right now that would be relevant to this conversation.
Yeah, there's another study out. I didn't bring it, but people are looking at levels of loneliness, and it's like levels of loneliness are the highest they've ever been.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. But I was also thinking about the experiment with the fact that they took, social mice, and then they said, oh, you can't be together anymore. And they split them apart, and the mice struggled and wanted to be together and tried. And I'm like thinking of that as like the first part of lockdown when everybody was like, we can do Zoom calls.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's great. We're going to connect. It's going to be awesome. And then finally we were all just like, oh, okay, I'm just done.
I'm just going to watch Netflix until I run out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there are a few parallels there for sure, but it's discovering how it might be this very specific detail of there's this peptide in the brain that gets activated that is involved in making us want to be around others. It could be it's very specific kind of detail, but at the same time, the implications of it go further, into the human behavior, into the human psyche, into mammals, social mammals in general.
Absolutely.
Why are we social? Why do we want to be social? Is it, women become depressed more often than men. So, is that related? Is this something I don't know. Is it related to amylin, maternal instincts? This, this system that was created to motivate females to find social protection and bonding to provide a better environment for the rearing of offspring. So for more maternal success, but it also comes to, it has changed to a social situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a feeling it has to do with men being largely throughout history, if not to this current day, pretty much detestable creatures. And so the brain needed to do some sort of coaxing internally behind the scenes
Yeah,
to
the
get
female
women to even
coaxing.
want to be around us. Just to keep, the whole evolution thing, life going, gene
Let's
preservation.
do this.
It's like, yeah,
Yes.
we know he's not great, but here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you need that contact anyway. Even though beneficial, yeah, we've got our own definition of that. So you're gonna want to hang out with him despite everything. Have you seen him? Yeah, we have. We're sorry. We're gonna flip a switch that makes you want to hang out with him anyway.
We'll use ultrasound to do it. All right. I think we made it to the end of our show. So fun to have you both back this week.
Yeah, it's great to be
I
back.
did enjoy talking to everyone all by myself last week, but it
Oh
is so
my
much
gosh.
more fun with the two of you.
Yeah,
So
how
many
were your
more.
hormones last week when you were all by yourself?
I wasn't alone. I was with our TWIS community.
That's true. Touche.
I was with a whole bunch of people and we were having a really great time. So I think we're done here. We're gonna finish up this show with some big thank yous. Thank you to Blair and Justin. Thank you both for coming back this week. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for joining us for this episode. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show. Shout outs to faaaaaaade. Thank you for your help on show notes and show descriptions and social media. Thank you to Gord and Lore and everyone who helps to keep our chat rooms happy, healthy, fun places to be. Identity 4 for recording the show, even though you're not doing that this week. And Rachel, thank you for your editing and your assistance. I'm looking forward to doing more with you there. And I really do want to say thank you to our Patreon sponsors. Thank you to Richard Badge, Kent Northcote, Rick Loveman, Pierre Velazar, Ralphie Figueroa, John Ratnaswamy, Carl Kornfeld, Karen Tazi, Woody MS, Andre Bissett, Chris Wozniak, Dave Bunn, Vergard Shefstad, Hal Snyder, Donathan Stiles, a.k.a. Don Stylo, John Lee, Ali Coffin, Maddie Perrin, Gaurav Sharma, Ragan, Don Mundus, Stephen Albaran, Daryl Myshak, Stu Pollock, Andrew Swanson, Fred S104, Sky Luke, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Reardon, Noodles, Jack, Brian Carrington, Matt Bass, Shauna Nina Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Gene Tellier, Steve Leisman, a.k.a. Zima, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Dana Pearson, Richard, Brendan Minish, Johnny Gridley, Rami Day, Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, Artyom, Greg Briggs, John Atwood, Bob Coburn, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul, Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, Sarah Chavis, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, E.O., Kevin Parachan, Aaron Luthen, Steve DeBell, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul Disney, David Simmerly, Patrick Pecoraro, Tony Steele, Ulysses Adkins, and Jason Roberts. Thank you for all of your support on Patreon. And for those of you out there who are wondering how you can support us on Patreon, well, you can head over to twis.org and click on the Patreon link and get started. On next week's show,
we will be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, or Thursday, 5 a.m. Central European time. Broadcasting live from our YouTube and Facebook channels and from twis.org/live.
Hey, do you want to listen to us as a podcast? Maybe while you bop your newborn babe to sleep? Just search for This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found. If you enjoyed the show, you can get your friends to subscribe as well.
Yes, for more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes and links to stories will be available on our website, www.twis.org, and you can also sign up for our newsletter.
You can also contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or me, Blair, at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into the inside of a health app that no one will check.
And if you're still not sick of contacting us or listening to us or interacting with us, you can also find us on the Twitter, where we are. It's another app, isn't it? At TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at Jackson Fly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes through the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views. But I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the
That was a slow fade.
Slow fade to nothing. Wait, no, the after show. Slow fade to the after show. This is the after show. It's the show that's after the show. It's not really a show. It's just a time, and we're here, and we're glad you are. So thank you. I've decided that I'm going to sing everything from here on.
Okay, well, be about it. You can't just say that while speaking.
I
in a
know, right?
non-singing voice.
I'm just telling you right
Okay,
now.
all right.
This is the moment before I break into song. I won't do
True.
that to you. Haha. Now, I've been watching a lot of old Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And they have so
So
much
good.
of the singing. And I am so impressed and amazed at their abilities to make up words. Make up words.
Yeah.
And be on tune and have the different styles of music. Like, they've really got it. They're great. Rub a bug in it. Rub a bug in it. Yes, Gaurav.
Rub a bug in it.
Maybe I should change the title of the show. Would you rub a bug in it? Do you have itches, aches, and pains?
Rub a bug
Rub
in
a
it.
bug in it. I
Yes,
love it.
yes.
I love it. It makes me happy to say.
Rub
a bug in it.
in it.
Did I post on the I did. I posted on the Twitters. Did I post from the app or from the browser? I do a lot of Twitter from the browser.
Mm-hmm. Same.
I do. A lot of browser twittering. And then very often I might peruse the app, but I don't I have a thing. I don't like typing with my thumbs. If I can avoid sending an email with my phone, I will avoid it. If I can avoid sending a text, I will avoid it. If I can avoid typing something in an app on my phone, I will avoid it. I don't like it at all. And yes, you might say, why don't you turn on the voice to text feature, Kiki?
That's a dangerous slippery
Because
slope.
it's crap.
It's crap, but also then you're that person walking around in public talking at your phone like this. And then you're the enemy. You've turned into the enemy, so
Yeah.
you can't be doing that.
Good night, Fada. I do have a friend who she does her texting while she's driving, but
Ooh.
she does it voice to text,
Mhm.
and she definitely is hands-free. She's driving and not looking at her phone at all because when you read the texts, it is like this stream of consciousness, gibberish
good.
reading thing, like, it hasn't been edited at all. You have no and it takes a moment to translate, and you're like,
Yeah.
what is this?" It's really funny. I love it. It makes me happy.
Ooh, my blood alcohol percent is 97.
What? That's not blood alcohol, it's
Or not.
oxygen.
That's not what I meant to say. I'm tired.
Excuse me. Can we test your blood alcohol? That would be fun.
No, I meant oxygen. Damn it.
That's good. 97's good. 98
97's
98
okay.
better.
Yeah.
Do you think you have COVID? Is
No.
that what you're testing?
No.
There's-
It's just here on the
I know. We have one too. And I just use it sometimes because I
Yeah.
like it.
It's interesting.
Uh-huh. It's like, oh,
It's
this
good just
red
to check.
light.
It's-
This
Yeah.
light can figure out oxygen.
No,
Mhm.
I think I'm just
That's
taking
magic.
shallow breaths because I'm tired. Because then, like, if I take some deep breaths and it goes back up to 98.
If you take deep breaths right now, though, you will yawn because you're tired. Everyone, we are now breathing with
98.
Blair.
98.
Oh, there you go. See? Deep
Yeah.
breathing.
Anyway.
Increase your blood alcohol content naturally.
Oh, God. That was quite a slip.
Increase your blood oxygen levels through breathing.
Yeah. Yep.
Nature, physiology, metabolism, respiration. What? Me sing? Who? What? Yeah, I want to sing everything now. I sing when I'm alone.
So
Don't we
how's
all?
everybody doing?
Good. How
Medium?
are you? How's the baby?
Oh, Bambanini is fantastic.
Good.
Is
Yay.
gaining weight, getting longer,
Aw.
stronger, cuter. Yeah, he's amazing.
Less lump-like, more small human-like as the days pass.
Yeah. No, it's been great. There is still like I don't know when like the last time I've had a proper shower. What is it? February now?
It is February. Yes.
I don't
We're a
know.
week into February.
You know, you get like a couple hours of sleep here and there, and you're like, "Ooh, that was great! Wow, yeah." But everything is good. I think they're all. I think Bambanini's managed to sleep through the show, which is pretty fantastic. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
otherwise,
Yes.
I would show him off to the world, but
Don't wake him up. Do not wake up the baby.
No, do not
No.
poke the baby. Do not wake us.
No.
Let
Baby
sleeping
sleeping?
babies lie.
Yes.
Let
That is
sleeping babies lie.
it's a great
Yes.
rule. One of the best rules. And let sleeping mommies lie and
Yes. Let all the sleeping people sleep.
let the sleeping people sleep.
Yeah.
Please.
It's a very different schedule.
Nope.
Newborn.
It is.
Bambanini. Yeah. They don't
You mean the lack of one, basically?
No, they kind of have a schedule.
their
They're on
own.
like a
Yeah.
2 to 3 hour.
Yeah,
So,
I guess that's what I
mostly
meant.
sleeping,
Is like
but-
it's like a day less 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really it's what do you call big adjustment.
What do you call it?
big adjustment.
Yes, a big adjustment.
You
The
call it
worst?
a big
Is that what you're
adjustment.
gonna say? What do you call it? Hell?
Yeah.
No.
That's it. That's the definition.
Yes. It's hazing.
No, Like I always
like
wondered that.
that.
This is humanizing.
If you make it through, you pass as a parent. That's great.
I love that.
But it does like this is, how do people with more than one of them? Like I don't understand how twins
Oh, like twins, yeah.
evolutionarily
at the same time,
manage.
because you have
I
more
just
than
don't
one.
understand how it persisted. I don't understand how it persisted. Like that the genes that require you to be that allow for twinness should have been gone a long time ago. It just should have killed the
Some
parents.
selfish people just
With
managed
those
to keep them
species.
both alive, so the genes continue.
Oh gosh.
There's a reason that we celebrate, the octomoms in the world, the rarities of those massive numbers of offspring at the same time. It's because what? How on earth? Not possible. You need all the peoples to make the tribes. Yes, Lauren. You need your tribes for sure.
People around.
We need the tribes. Tribes keep us happy. Noodles, Justin Noodles says, even when the baby is 13, let it sleep. Oh, happy birthday to Noodles' son.
Probably as much sleep.
Noodles says his son turned 26 today.
Oh, nice.
Happy birthday.
It's a Luma Fusel's Day.
What?
Mazel tov.
What'd you say, Justin?
I said happy birthday.
In Danish? Or what'd you say?
Yeah,
you didn't say happy.
You dance to Luma Fusel's Day.
Okay, thank you.
You're just making things up now.
So, but that's the thing. That's apparently that's how Danish works. No, that is. It's true. The Danish don't have like a set language. They're
like
just
hoop de
make up
hoop
words.
Yeah,
Hoop de
They
hoop
just
de
make
hoop.
up words. And then
Yeah.
the real strength of the Danish language is then just figuring out what the other person meant by the sounds that they made and responding. And it kind of goes back and forth.
Day. I gotcha.
It just goes back and forth until eventually it's as though there was a language involved at some point. But it's not.
Is
it
Trogonot Danish?
Gotcha.
Not a real language.
Danish and
completely made up.
Norwegian is very idiom based, right? Like it's a lot of like phrases that mean things. Like
Shaka,
maybe
when the walls fell.
Maybe. I don't know that. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's.
I don't know. I remember my dad telling me something like that at one point. I don't know. Oh, wait. Okay. 14 strange Danish expressions and how to use them. Let's learn Danish, everyone.
Oh, here we go.
Ik den skarpest nif I skuffen.
This is what I'm talking about. It's just made up.
Yeah,
it's just made up.
And
now,
at Tanagra. I gotcha.
Now, I might hand you a tissue. Or I might offer you a cup of coffee. Now, if a cup of coffee appeals to you, you might pretend that's what you said. And then we go on from there. See, that's sort of just how Danish works.
Hundfold. What?
Sounds like his arms wide.
Hundfold. Chicken drunk. When a Dane is very drunk, they are not drunk as a skunk, but chicken drunk.
Hundfold. Oh yeah,
Hundfold.
Foot is a word for drunk, and it's great because a lot of English originated from the Danish language through how England came to exist over these years, right? And so sometimes you can kind of reach for an English word and sort of Danify it a little bit, and you might be right. If you want to have something, you say, "Can I have it?" Have it. You just make it up. So after a big meal once, somebody was like asking if I wanted more food. And I'm like, no thanks. Jeg er full. I'm full, I'm saying. Jeg er full. No, I'm telling everybody at the table I'm drunk. So I've stopped eating. So you have to...
No, thank you. I'm drunk. Oh my God. Der ingen koppaisen.
There's not what?
Der ingen koppaisen.
There's not Copenhagen.
There's no cow on the ice.
There's no cow on the ice. Yeah.
So, Kath, his eyes uncovered. I gotcha.
How about this one? Der ugler i mosen. Mosen. Der ugler.
Ugler? I don't know what you're trying to say. So one of the other things is like
it's
a lot of
pronunciation too. There are no owls in the bog.
Okay. So also what's the hard part about reading Danish is that like G's I think are Y's unless there's two of them, and then there's like an H in the front of a V, but you don't say the H sound, or you do and you don't do the like they have like you have to learn it. You know, like every once in a while there's something in English that's like an exception. You know, it's I have to accept, you know, the exception when you say this word, or this word is pronounced like the entire Danish language is exceptions. Every word you have to learn how to pronounce separately from everything else that you've learned. It's you can't just look at a word and go, oh, that's how you say it. Oh yeah, that's how you said it when that other word that we had before, but we've changed it because, and part of it is this is truly the history of Danish. It's 5 isolated languages that were isolated so much so that they
got squished together.
They couldn't communicate because they were 5 different languages that had been isolated in a small area for over a long period of time, and then they just kind of put them together. And so it's sort of left, the rules don't fit. They're not consistent throughout the language, which is somewhat true of any language, I guess. It is very close to English in a way that a lot of English words came from Danish. So it's like, nonsense. Oh, I understand exactly what they just said for like a bunch of words in a row. And then now it's gone again.
And then, nope. I almost had it. That close.
Sounds like accents in England. Yeah. That's sort of where I'm at. I can do enough of a Danish accent that I sound fluent, but then I have to oh no, sorry, chap. I don't speak a lick of English. No, none at all. No, sorry, old man. No, can't help you there. My English is terrible. Like this is what happens. I can start to talk to somebody, and then they'll talk back, and I don't understand any of it. Ik forstår.
That'll be
Yeah, I feel like that's always how it goes. Is you can like learn how to say things, and then when they come at you full speed, you're like, "Oh God, too much."
Oh, don't do it. Yeah, and it also hurts that like everyone here pretty much speaks English, better than most Americans, by the way, which is weird.
Yeah,
everyone here speaks English, and then it's you know they can hear you struggle, and they're helping you out, or they're just trying their English out with the native speaker and want to do that. But there's not a whole lot of opportunity to do immersion, thankfully, because it would not work. It would just be, oh gosh. No, they handed me another cup of coffee. Look, I'm trying to find where the train leaves to go to this other part of town that I can't pronounce because it has letters that are all combobulated in a way that doesn't make sense to my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. When I was in Israel, I was dealing with pretty much straight immersion during the day, but then I was living with a bunch of English speakers when I got home at night. I do think it would have been more effective if we couldn't have spoken English at home.
Mhm.
But it also probably would have been maddening. So
Eric Knapp says, "Oh, I meant the dialects in England." Okay, yeah. So they have there's no. I have not experienced, or I can't tell. My ear isn't smart enough to tell different dialects in Denmark in Danish. But I hear tell that the people of Southern Jutland are completely impossible to understand when they speak. Don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, technical terms. Actually, the universities here, the graduate universities, are taught in English.
Whoa.
And that helps
Why
because they. Yeah, why, Blair? Why is it? Why
were
is
you
your?
me?
Yeah, why are you Kiki? Are
I think
you?
because I'm logged into the TWIS StreamYard account.
Okay.
Oh,
You're
we're
not
the
going
same
around on the
person.
interwebs pretending to be Kiki.
Yeah, check it out.
That's her profile.
Look at me
pic.
go.
It's Blair Key.
Edit avatar. Let's do that.
No! If you're in my account, Claire. Hold on.
What could it hurt?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
I gotta find one.
Higa. Are you practicing Higa right now, Justin? Lots of Higa.
There's a little bit of ugliness going on around. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
There's no good photos for me to use.
Oh,
I was trying to do
Blair.
something
Still
funny.
trying to do?
Yeah, I was gonna pick something funny and I can't find anything good.
Here are some more Danish phrases that I cannot pronounce because I don't speak Danish and I don't know the alphabet. So, kom ikke her og spil kong gulerod.
Wait. Come here, but don't something with the and something ow and
Og spil kong gulerod.
play. Come here, but don't play with the furniture. No.
Don't come here and act like King Carrot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's oddly that's a phrase that comes up a lot. Yeah.
Don't you dare act like King Carrot.
Don't you act like King Carrot.
What?
Don't you even dare.
At sluge on camel.
I don't know what you say.
To swallow a camel?
Oh, well, no, that did make sense. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I can't print. Okay, so O with the line through it. Fur. What? Fur. Javelin. It's then the A and the E together. What's that sound? I can't pronounce this one. Javelin. Fur javelin farskopa. Javelin. Before the devil puts his shoes on. Okay. Oh, you were shopping for shoes. How do you say shoes? How would you say put your shoes on? Have you said that before?
Oh, yeah. I say put your shoes on.
Good.
That's one of those weird. No, that's one of those weird ones where the English language is so derived from Danish that it's completely the same.
Blair.
Sure. Yes.
I see you with your new avatar.
Yes. May I help you? Here, I can put it back. Would you rather it was you?
Who am I? Who am I?
There I am. I'm back.
There you are. I like Honnefold. Ga som katten om den varmgrod. Walk as the cat around the hot porridge.
Where are you getting these phrases from?
It's from a Nordic culture website. Did Blazer on have pelican?
The pants are on the pelican? Or the
It's
shirt is on the
blowing half
pelican?
a pelican. Did Blazer? Det Blazer on have pelican. It's blowing half a pelican.
Watch the
then-
gardener in your dogum. They
Oh,
are cleaning from your
Okay, it's not Klingon.
No,
It's
that's
not-
actually the beginning of Beowulf in Old English. Somebody mentioned Beowulf in chat.
Blair busts out her extensive
Awesome.
Klingon dialect.
No,
This after
it's
show.
okay. In high school, we had to memorize the first couple stanzas of Beowulf in Old English, and then this is like the
Wow.
nerdy high school I went to. Is that we all brought plastic swords to school one day, and then we started like our teacher took us to other classrooms, and we all broke in and started chanting Beowulf at random classes full of kids.
Then they were scared,
Yeah.
and they had reason to be.
Oh man, that was pretty great. What we gardener in your dogum? They would kuninga bring your fruit on. There you go.
Heyo.
That also sounds like one of those makety-up languages.
Yeah, it's
Like-
Old English.
Not until somebody wrote it down did they realize. Like, do you realize like none of these sounds we're making are tracking with meanings? Yeah. That's why we're writing them down. We're trying to establish that for the first
We
time.
just got
We're
nothing.
gonna have the sounds we make mean things, specific things that are repeatable, used in the same way. Oh, interesting.
Here, I can show you what it looks like. It looks crazy.
I don't think we ever read it in the Old English or tried to look at it in the Old English when I was in high school. My
Yeah.
teacher didn't go that far. Like, just
Yeah.
do Beowulf and just translated.
I forget how this is. Like
What?
something Apolinga Ellen Fremedon. Yeah, there you go.
Apolinga Faradon.
Yeah. Aufschlingschlegem, Skepa fretum, monogam mephum, meodolesta ofta, esoda
Ofta.
erles. It's a nursed word. You know?
It says Danish evolved from Old East Norse. Old Norse. So it might be. I don't know if it's how
Similar
that would be.
origins.
Mm-hmm.
Because Old English definitely has some Viking roots in it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Older.
Very interesting.
Noodles used to speak a bit of Dutch.
Ooh.
Hey, have you
Blair's
ever
gonna
heard
fall
of the thing where they're talking about a cat walking around a bowl of porridge? Dana?
What?
Have you ever heard a saying about a cat
Yeah, this
walking
is-
around a bowl of porridge or something?
Yeah, it's like the elephant in the room.
Oh, translation: cat walking around a bowl of porridge is the akin to identifying the elephant in the room.
What?
It's the same meaning, apparently. Yeah, it's a saying. It's a real thing. I thought Kiki was just making stuff up.
I'm
Justin,
not
ask her what
making things
Beowulf
up.
means.
That's not even the right language.
I'm joking. I'm
Daniel Young
losing
was
it.
saying your Beowulf reading sounds like a Kate Bush song. I think it's more like Cockatoo Twins from like Blair has no idea who I just
I
referenced.
don't know what that is.
I think it's
Oh
the intro
my-
to.
Okay, homework
Or-
for
Say
Blair.
the words
Listen
again.
to the
Pink
Cockatoo
Floyd song.
Twins. COCTEAU.
Several
Cockatoo
species of
Twins.
furry
Cockatoo
creatures
twins.
grouping
Cockatoo
together with
It's three people.
Hey, homework. California.
A
Funny.
Scottish band from 1979 to 1997.
90s. Yes. Cockatoo Twins.
What
yeah.
song are they famous for?
Okay. What was the song that
Heaven or Las Vegas?
Yeah. Could be heaven or Las Vegas.
Ads. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll never
Listen to it. Homework later.
I gotta roll. People are waking up. I'm gonna have to roll.
Yeah.
All right. Go
Okay.
be a papa.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Go let the mama sleep.
Say good morning, Justin.
Good morning, Justin. Say goodnight, Blair.
Good night, Blair.
Good
night,
night,
Kiki.
Kiki.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another after show and all the things. Everyone stay well, stay rested, and stay fed. Stay sane if you can, at least as much as possible in these days and times. Come on back again next week. Stay curious.